folks. I mean, good day, because we don't know where we are. Hang on, I'll fix this there. It's a different hat, but same problem. Quiet down, folks. Notice last video there, you couldn't hear me talking. You guys were all talking over me. Okay, the topic this morning, it's gonna be dealing with the brakes. Disc brakes, really, because I have drums on my truck, but we won't talk about drums because probably nobody else has them on this vehicle except me. We'll talk about disc brakes. Starts off, okay, we'll talk about rotors first, then we'll go to pads. See? We won't talk about calipers because calipers is a very, well, you'll see as I discuss this. You'll see. Rotors. You've noticed, there's some with swirly grooves in them. There's some that are drilled. There's some that are drilled and swirly grooves. There's range, You can buy the cheap ones for, I think I've seen some, like for probably little cars there for 20 some bucks. Well, here in Canada. In the States, probably 12 bucks. But anyways, you can go up over $100, and we'll just go back a bit here. When I was young, and you had like the first cars that come out with disc brakes, they probably used it. Well, they did use disc brakes on race cars, and then it came down to the manufactured cars, and it first came out. I remember a caliper. It's $300 and some. That was just a normal run-of-the-mill caliper. So it was expensive, And a rotor you couldn't get away was $100 and more. But I'm always talking Canadian dollars here, So bear with me a little bit. Make the adjustment. Take 25% off and more. But as time went by, it used to be U.S. manufactured, mostly, probably, and then the Chinese market got into it, And copycat markets, and then we started to get the discrepancy between the discrepancy in price and in quality too, Now the rotors we have, the whole range, Like you can pay, I'm sure, $500-600 for a rotor cast and machined in Germany or someplace like that, which would be at the upper, I think, scale. And then you get the Chinese versions, which would be, I don't know, under $100, probably. Just no way. Trying to 30 bucks for a rotor. The cheapies there, the ones that are solid, not even grooved inside. But anyways, the big thing to learn from this is most of them nowadays, there's an exception, but most of them are manufactured by name brand companies, but manufactured in China. So right off the bat, you can see where I'm going with this, and you can't depend on nothing really, other than if you try it. Well, okay, my way of looking at it, if you buy the cheapest you can get, sometimes you get for what you pay for. So you don't go cheapest, but don't go the most expensive either, because you're gonna pay for the name brand. And sometimes, I'm going to show you something. Okay. Here, AC Delco. This is not rotors, but I'm sure this applies to rotors, okay? And, okay. Can you see that? I don't know if that focus is in there. See that, folks? That's AC Delco. It's name brand, and you pay for that. You pay for AC Delco being printed on that box. It could be Joe Blow, and it would be half that price. the same thing. So you pay for the name, but companies have no more, I say companies have no more soul. The name of a company is, they sell their name to anybody. Harley Davidson, does that ring a bell? Everything's made in China now. I'd be surprised if the motorcycles aren't made in China. They're not supposed to. But anyways, I don't want to talk about Harley. I'm going to talk about disc brakes. Okay, now, I told you about the rotors. You have to shop and figure out for yourself. You look at the casting. You'll see the casting on the cheaper versions is very rough. But the machine part is machined, so it's finished. There's some that have like there's no cleaning or nothing, like the upper mid price and the upper ones. You don't have to clean them. Some of them you have to spray them with some kind of brake clean or something and wipe them off before you stick them on. Because if you don't wipe them off, yeah, you're gonna have a problem. You're gonna be redoing your brake job. You throw away your pads because they're contaminated, and so different qualities in the rotors, but mostly you get for what you pay for. Don't go in the most expensive, I should say. That's just my way of thinking, eh? You can do whatever way you want. Okay, now we're gonna talk about pads, like pads for disc brakes. Pads for disc brake is, there's quite a selection. I more or less separated in four different categories. Hang on, I just wrote down a few notes there. My memory fails me. They call that the lowest version of pads, okay? They call that organic pads. They're made out of fibrous material, probably everything but the kitchen sink and even the asbestos. They probably tell you that they don't use it, but maybe they have a secret room where they mix the stuff before they pour them, and they have a secret room with asbestos in it, and they still put them in. I don't know how it works, but anyways, it's like an organic. It's a more cushy material. It gives you a good braking, but if you're hard on the brakes, like if you really gun it and you press hard on the brake, or if you're going down long hills like in Pennsylvania and things like that, where you gotta apply the brakes, well, with these organics, you're gonna run out. You're gonna find when you start to run out, you'll start to find that your pedal's getting cushy, eh? Because your pads are expanding and contracting with every time you press on them, and it won't give you satisfaction. But you'll get, with the organic, you'll get better wear of your rotors. Your rotors won't wear as much because the pad is softer, eh? So the pad's going to wear more than the rotor. The next is semi-metallic, okay? These here, there's inside the brake pad, there's metallic, and when we see copper or brass, metal, it's all in the composite of the pad. It's the brake pad that's glued on to the steel part. But this here, you get more, you'll wear a little bit more on your rotors. But like my truck, okay, this here, this here, yeah, but you can't see it. These pads that I bought, they're semi-metallic, okay? Because this truck of mine, and this is something to think about too when you're choosing. I don't drive like a stock car or race or nothing like that, but this truck was built by General Motors, and it was undersized brakes. They weren't big enough for the weight of the vehicle, especially with the drum brakes in the back. All has to be, this truck to brake very well has to be, everything has to be top shape, like the brakes in the back tight as you can put them, and the rotors in front well scuffed, and the pads good action, sanded, and the slides there, everything has to work well, but that's having to do with the brake job. That's not what we're discussing today. We're discussing the parts being used for the big brake job. Then, okay, the metallic, that's semi-metallic. That's my choice. That's what I put on my truck. They're hard on the rotors, a little bit harder than the organic. I still go and buy pads if I want to get the organic ones. I tell them asbestos, but there's supposedly no such thing in it. I don't know. Anyways, so that's what I buy for my truck. It's semi-metallic and wears a little bit more on the rotors, but gives me better braking. They make a little bit more dust. You'll see dust on the rim there, black metal dust there, and that you'll even see it. Don't use a vehicle too much, you'll even see rust, speckles on the rim. Anyways, okay, so the next one is better braking. Okay, they're the ceramic brake pads. You can still get those at the suppliers. They're hardware on the rotor. They're long lasting, and to tell you the truth, I never tried them. I would be hard pressed to tell you if they're good or not, but I know for a fact that there's a ceramic brakes, and the upper tier, like your Brembo brake systems, would use ceramics in them, and that's more or less all I can say. I can't tell you good or bad. It's just the two lower ones that I think are in the options. And then there's a carbon fiber. That's in the race cars. They're very expensive supposedly. I don't know. I never bought none. But you see these race cars, like the stock cars, the different races, and you see the rotor inside the wheel there, just glowing, with the, just imagine what it takes, what kind of pad, what kind of, even the rotor. If you take a normal rotor like what we use and put it on a car like that, that rotor would explode. Yes. So these race cars, that's a whole different ball. Even the bearings inside there. Just imagine the grease inside the bearings. It has to be the temperatures that it reaches. Like you can see these brakes, they're just glowing red, and they're still working. I know they can adjust within the stock cars. They can adjust the brakes now, give it more pedal on the right, the left hand side, front and rear. They can play with that, but other than that, it's just that the temperatures that these brakes work at, our vehicles aren't made the same way. I'm just more or less saying that things are like now. You buy something, you can't go by the name. And with this, I must say something, that just because it's made in China doesn't mean it's junk. Like, different companies have their different level of specs, and the Chinese get the contract and manufacture these parts, but they have to respect the spec of the company. And I know this is not the first time, but I was on a chat once, and there's was a Chinese guy, and he came in and he said it well, he didn't say it, he wrote it in English, but he said that the Chinese companies have the capacity to manufacture quality parts, but companies don't want to pay for them. So therefore, they manufacture, but I was going to say junk, but just because you buy something that's made in China and it's junk doesn't mean everything that's made in China is junk. I don't want to publicize the made in China thing, but face it, man, that's the road we're going down with. And most of the stuff we buy nowadays that used to be made in America is made in China. The one thing, though, that's not in the favor of the Chinese is they're known as a copycat country, and they've copied a lot of American. Like you think of most of the tools like Snap-on, like Vice Grip. Everything you touch now is made in China, so it's hard to escape it. But anyways, I was just saying, you have a choice, and I wouldn't go the cheapest, but you don't have to go to the highest price. The prices have come down a lot in the calipers and the rotors and the pads, and I think you get away with mid-range. That's just what I think. I'm no expert. I'm not a mechanic. So you can take it for what it's worth. Gators, jewels of knowledge. Okay. All you guys out there, you've kept it quiet. I compliment you guys for this one. Okay, folks, enjoyed doing this. I hope you liked it too, because like I say, just go make a coffee or go to a washroom or go make yourself a drink or something and sit down, watch TV. Let my videos run so I get the credit time. And after that, that's it. I'll be gone. Okay, salute yous all. Don't forget, we'll see you in the next one.